I have to say, the NBA scriptwriters were in their bag tonight because we had back-to-back fucking bangers. Ja Morant made his return in the Grizzlies-Pelicans game. The Grizzlies were on the road, down 24 at one point. Let's talk about that game first, and then we'll get to the second game in a minute because I really want to talk about that one as well. But let's talk about the Grizzlies-Pelicans game because obviously it was the much-anticipated return of Ja Morant from his 25-game suspension. And I want everybody who the last 2 seasons when Ja Morant missed significant time and tried to fix their mouths to say that the Grizzlies were better without Ja Morant to step forward, because that was always a fucking ridiculous take. And what do you know? When Ja Morant comes back, he has 34, 8, and 6. Really looked winded in the third quarter. Obviously, he hadn't played real game action in a long time, so he asked for a sub out at one point. But that first half, Ja looked a little rusty. He got to the rim a few times. He shot a few threes, and they were short. And I imagine it was a combination of nerves and, trying to get that second win, because I imagine like the first 3 minutes, you're probably breathing heavy. Once Ja went out, the Grizzlies offense really went to shit. It was a lot of John Conchar, Zaire Williams, Vince Williams Jr. trying to create stuff, and Desmond Bane trying to heavy lift everything around him. The big 3 for the Grizzlies had a great game. Those are obviously your 3 cornerstone players, but in the first half, they all really struggled. Bane in particular was 4 of 12 from the field, 1 of 4 from 3. And the Grizzlies lost CJ McCollum a few times. CJ made 5 3-pointers. He was 5 of 6. Jonas Valanciunas was just dominating the glass, taking advantage of Bismack Biyombo. Jaren Jackson Jr. and Bismack were each in foul trouble, had 3 fouls in the first half. And it really looked like the Pelicans were going to run away from it. And especially with Zion Williamson only playing 6 minutes in the first half, because he got 2 early fouls in the first quarter and then picked up a 3rd foul in the second quarter. The third quarter, I thought he started to get loose a little bit. He had a nice alley-oop dunk in transition, but the Pelicans really started to lose their momentum. Desmond Bane started playing better. Ja Morant started getting his feel back. He had 13 points in the third quarter and was taking it to Herb Jones, taking it to Dyson Daniels, Jose Alvarado in the first half. No matter what the Grizzlies did, that second half, Ja Morant was just unstoppable. And then, of course, as we get to the fourth quarter, it was that back and forth. Ja Morant had 3 straight buckets, each one to put the Grizzlies ahead. And then, after Ja Morant put him up 111 to 109, Jonas had that putback layup. And then Ja Morant had that insane circus shot, kind of rejecting the screen and going right at Herb. And then it was a tough layup, and he kind of tumbled at the end. But then the Pelicans were able to get a quick out-of-bounds layup right off the make. Then Ja Morant tries a 3, and then Ingram got the rebound, and you're thinking, okay, this might be kind of it for the Grizzlies if Ingram can get into a spot. But then CJ McCollum misses a 3. Ja Morant gets a pretty clean rebound. Taylor Jenkins calls a timeout, and it was a nice little tidbit after the game when they called the timeout. Ja wanted to just keep going because they wanted to run a post-up for Jaren Jackson, and then he wanted to run a post-up for Jaren Jackson in the timeout, but everyone was like, nah, we're going to 12. And then Ja Morant, man. The NBA missed Ja Morant. He's one of the most exciting point guards in the NBA. It was just a reminder that we all missed him. His aerial acrobatics as he gets to the rim, his passing ability. He did have a few turnovers tonight making cross-court passes, but when you're a really great passer like Ja Morant, and I do think his passing is very underrated, I mean, it's going to take a while to get your rhythm back, especially after not playing for a while, but Ja Morant with that spin move on Herb Jones, and I'm telling you, Herb Jones is an all-world perimeter defender, and Ja Morant just made him look like he wasn't there the last 3 go-ahead buckets he had, and this one was no different. Spin move, little floater, boom, at the buzzer, goes through the basket as the buzzer is sounding. Ball game. Pelicans blow a 24-point lead. The Grizzlies, in a really just like I said, the scriptwriters were in their bag. It was just a storybook type of return for Ja Morant. And hopefully the Grizzlies can get Marcus Smart and Luke Kennard back. Maybe they can try to climb out of this big-ass hole they have dug themselves in the first 25 games, because I didn't expect them to go 6-19 before tonight. As much as I thought they were going to struggle without Ja, I still thought they had great players. I'm a big Desmond Bane guy. I like Jaren Jackson Jr. a lot. I made a Marcus Smart video over the summer, and I thought Marcus Smart was a perfect fit for the Memphis Grizzlies. Obviously, he got hurt, but hopefully this team can start getting some bodies back. They're kind of going to be light in the front court all year, aside from Jaren Jackson Jr., just because of the injuries to Steven Adams and Brandon Clark. They're just going to have to get serviceable minutes from Bismack Biyombo. They're going to have to get otherworldly play from Jaren Jackson Jr. at the 5, and hope the Grizzlies can climb out of it, because I really wanted to, as much as I wanted to write the Grizzlies off, and honestly, I don't know if they dug a hole too deep to where they can't get out of it, but I at least wanted to see this team when they got Ja Morant back, and great first start. Then we go to the Warriors-Celtics game, and this game was a doozy. Celtics really kind of had control of the first half a lot. I thought their size imposing their will on the Warriors, it was just really overbearing for the Warriors at times in the first half. I thought actually the Warriors were most effective in the first half when the kids were mostly in, such as Brandon Pajemski, Trace Jackson Davis, who was really big in the first half. Jonathan Kuminga really had a nice first half, did not foul Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown at all in this game, but at half he had 13, 5, and 1 steal, I believe, and just some really great defense on Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. I swear to God, man, every time I see Derek White shoot, it always goes in. Maybe that's just my PTSD from watching the Sixers-Celtics series last playoffs, but I'm not surprised that the Celtics offense ended up bogging down in the second half, because it really felt like the classic old Celtics where they attempted nearly 63s. They kind of stopped attacking the rim like they were a little bit more in the first half. And in the second half, especially that fourth quarter, they got Steph Curry in foul trouble, right? And Steph Curry was dealing with foul trouble the whole game, had 5 fouls before the fourth quarter even started, and then Steve Kerr put him in at the start of the fourth quarter. And it just seemed like the Celtics offense really, really bogged down when they just were focused on attacking Steph and trying to foul him out, because then the Warriors would send a double or a soft double, and then the Celtics would put him in rotation, or they would try to attack the mismatch. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown would try to attack and put the offense off schedule. And I just thought they did too much of that the entire fourth quarter. I don't mind when you do it for stretches, but it just seemed like they were doing it the whole fourth quarter, and it obviously wasn't working. There were times when Steph was conceding layups, but the Celtics really were just focused on getting, whether it was Drew Holiday or Derek White to screen for Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown. And there were even a few possessions where Curry was on Al Horford, and they would try to bring him up. And it was just a lot of trying to attack Steph instead of just getting to your usual stuff, because Chris Paul was on the court too. And I saw a funny tweet, actually. Somebody tweeted like the big brain meme, where it was like Steve Kerr putting Chris Paul and Steph Curry on the court at the same time so they can attack Chris Paul instead of Steph Curry, who had 5 fouls. But Steph is a fucking god, man. Just big three after big three. Klay Thompson, who has been playing really well the last 4 games, came through with big shots and big threes in the fourth quarter. Steph had a 3 to tie it at 115. Then Klay hit a 3 to tie the game at 118. It was just an awesome game all around. Chris Paul, Trace Jackson Davis, and Jonathan Kuminga all deserved the game ball. Chris Paul really struggled in the first half, and the third quarter seemed like some of his shots were short. I know that was pointed out on the broadcast tonight, but Chris Paul got a few buckets towards the end of the third quarter, especially that 3, and he kind of got into a rhythm after that. And then Jonathan Kuminga once again played great defense on Jason Tatum all night, but especially on that last possession and forced overtime. And then there was a lid on that basket for a lot of that part of overtime, but the Warriors were able to get some easy buckets. Jonathan Kuminga got a pick 6, and it was funny. I was thinking right before that possession happened, I was like, with the way both teams were missing, I thought the Celtics were going to score on that possession where Jonathan Kuminga got the pick 6, and I was like, the Warriors need to force a turnover here. And then Al Horford just threw a lazy pass from the top of the arc, and Jonathan Kuminga pick 6'd it. Klay Thompson hit Jackson Davis with a pretty dump off pass for a dunk, and all those guys. Trace Jackson Davis also had a few insane blocks, including one on Jaylen Brown in overtime. And the Warriors seal the win when Chris Paul got that deflection off of Trace Jackson Davis trying to force an offensive rebound and hits a bullet cross-court pass to Curry, who catches it, immediately fires it, high arcing, nothing but net, hits him with his iconic night-night pose, which I'm sure Celtics fans will get flashbacks from that. And that was all she wrote. And it made me think about the Draymond suspension, right? Because now the Warriors have won 3 in a row. They're starting to kind of find themselves a little bit. And I think if there is one takeaway, one positive thing that can happen with this Draymond suspension, is that Steve Kerr is going to need everybody, and it's going to force Steve Kerr to think differently about how he changes the offense, how he changes his rotations, and all the young guys have to play. They just do. And he's going to have to be forced to live with the mistakes that they make. Because I always say, in order to develop, you need to get as many reps as possible. And Jonathan Kuminga has been great. Moses Moody has been great. He was great in that Portland game. Brandon Podziemski has been awesome all year as a rookie. And unfortunately, he went out with a back strain tonight because he got clobbered on Neemias Queta trying to crash the offensive glass. Neemias Queta, by the way, playing really nicely for the Boston Celtics. I thought he was nice in Sacramento, but Podziemski, just somebody who's scrappy, can shoot, can handle the ball, can pass. Moody, of course, can shoot, play defense, rebound, make the little plays. And Jonathan Kuminga is the high upside athlete wing that they have. And you saw the defense he played on Jason Tatum tonight and on Jaylen Brown for spurts. And you're just going to have to live with those mistakes, man, because Steve Kerr has been rigid, wants to play his way, his style. And whenever they make a mistake, they get inconsistent minutes. Like Trace Jackson Davis, for example, every time he stepped on the floor, even earlier in the season when he wasn't playing much but would get spot minutes, it was clear he knew what he was doing. And that is actually the prototypical big Chris Paul would like to play with, as much as Dario Saric and that Chris Paul pick and pop has been working all year. Trace Jackson Davis is an athlete, is an energy hustle guy, gets offensive rebounds, knows how to finish around the cup, keep it high, not bring it down so the little guys can swipe at it, knows he's not going to get plays called for him, but you got to play him. And he was somebody that was able to keep Horford off the glass. He had 4 offensive rebounds tonight. This is a chance for the Warriors to re-innovate themselves because they still have a top 3 player in basketball. Klay Thompson's rounding in the form, and Chris Paul will still get you 12 assists and, surprise, surprise, 0 turnovers. But a really great win for the Warriors, and this is why I will always, even to my detriment if I'm wrong at the end of the year, I will not give up on the Warriors because they can do shit like this.